Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta and you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers, connect the dots, and give you the developments and the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Let's dive right in. President Marcos orders the government to monitor the Israel-Iran conflict and brace for economic impacts. San Miguel Corporation secures a top 10 spot in the Fortune Southeast Asia 500 for the second year running. In the U.S., ICE agents arrest, then release a New York mayoral candidate amid controversy. We begin with the latest from the Middle East. U.S. President Donald Trump is demanding Iran's unconditional surrender. Trump spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu before meeting with his national security team on Tuesday. While there are reports Trump is considering using U.S. military force to strike Iran's nuclear facilities, they say he remains open to diplomacy. This escalation could disrupt global energy markets, driving up oil prices and impacting Filipino consumers and businesses alike. It also puts our overseas workers in the region at risk, making this not just a distant conflict, but a direct economic and human concern for the Philippines. The U.S. Embassy in Israel announced it will close from Wednesday through Friday as Israel and Iran continue their attacks. Global financial markets struggle as the Israel-Iran conflict enters its fifth day, heightening investor fears worldwide. U.S. stocks closed lower Tuesday as military tensions escalate, with the U.S. deploying fighter jets to the Middle East. President Donald Trump demands Iran's unconditional surrender following Israel's attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. At the same time, the Federal Reserve is set to announce a policy decision today, with rates expected to hold steady amid global uncertainty.
I think Jerome Powell wants to be independent from Trump. He wants to show, I'm not going to be strong-armed by the government. I'm going to hold this until we're ready to drop it down. I'm not really sure why the Fed doesn't do a signaling cut of 25 basis points just to show that they're willing to do it. The rest of the world was cutting. We're in a great shape. I'm not sure why he doesn't do that, but he's not, and there's no indication that in this particular round he's going to.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 0.7%, the S&P 500 down by 0.8%, and the Nasdaq lower by 0.9%. Markets in Europe are also feeling the pressure. London's FTSE 100 lower by 0.5%, Germany's DAX lower by 1.1%, and France's CAC 40 lower by 0.8%. Hala spokesperson Claire Castro says President Marcos is on alert, directing the Department of Energy to track the impact of the Israel-Iran conflict on fuel prices. With the Strait of Hormuz at risk, a major global oil route, the Philippines could face rising fuel costs that would hurt consumers and businesses. Oil companies have been ordered to phase in price increases while government prepares subsidies and checks stocks nationwide. At the same time, officials are keeping an eye on fertilizer supplies, vital for agriculture and dependent on Middle Eastern sources. Contingency measures are ready to keep supplies flowing and support those most at risk. Global oil prices are on the rise, and the Philippines may soon feel the impact. Economists warn that escalating tensions in the Middle East could drive up inflation and strain the country's economy. Sujin Kim has the details.
The Philippines is facing growing inflation risks as global oil prices continue to surge amid heightened tensions between Israel and Iran. Economists warn that the escalating conflict could drive up the cost of goods and further strain the economy.
For every $10, kumusta yung magiging pag-pick up ng inflation? Siguro mga 0.2 to 0.3 percentage points. Pero ano yan, kung mag-sustain siya on a monthly basis, for a given month, number of months, yung 1.9 na year-to-date average, mag-pick up yan ng mga 2.1, 2.2. Ayun yung impact niya.
For June, I was actually looking at 1.2%, but most likely I'd probably look at it flat at 1.3%. But between now and year end, if this conflict continues over 3 months, then we will probably be heading towards that, again, within the 2 to 4%. So most likely closer to 2.5%. will probably be our year end.
The heightened tensions have raised fears of a possible closure of the Strait of Hormuz, a vital channel that handles 20% of the world's oil supply.
There, so if they close that, there will be a shortage, and therefore prices will go up. So we will get hit by a double whammy of higher coal prices, and of course that will mean higher, higher coal and fuel prices. So it's a little scary. It will be hard for us countries that are very oil and coal dependent.
Oil prices have climbed to nearly $72 per barrel from around $63 to $64 before the crisis. Experts caution that if the conflict persists and supply is disrupted, prices could soon exceed $80 per barrel, a level that would place a heavier burden on oil-dependent countries like the Philippines.
We're really vulnerable because we import most of our oil coming from the Middle East. So if the Straits of Hormuz there will be some disruptions, then definitely there could be delays in the supply. So it could affect not just the Philippines, but the rest of Asia, no? And the rest of the world. So we're really vulnerable.
The peso is already feeling the pressure, now at 56.60 against the dollar, down from 55 last month.
Since April 30 nga, the peso has depreciated by 1 peso na, di ba? 56 something, 60 na yata tayo, so over 1 peso.
Alongside rising import costs, analysts are watching for possible capital outflows as investors shift to safe havens like the dollar and gold.
People run to safety, and for local investors and even among our ASEAN neighbors, the tendency is to buy the dollar. And especially for net importing countries like the Philippines, the US dollar is the best currency to eventually lean on. Although, of course, other investors who are more sophisticated will try to look at the likes of gold, because they feel that if this is still inflationary, then people will eventually go to gold.
There might even be a capital flight. They'll put their money, again, not necessarily in the US, but other stable currencies also, stronger economies. So that will mean that even risk assets might also move from equities back to the safer fixed income and even gold and other commodities, right? Because those prices should go up. So we've seen gold prices go up. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up even further.
The PSE index is currently trading at low 6,000 levels. Francisco is hopeful the market won't slide further unless the situation worsens. He adds that if the conflict de-escalates and trade barriers are addressed, the index could climb by as much as 8%, reaching 7,000 within 8 months. Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Nearly 4 dozen OFWs are displaced after their homes were destroyed in the escalating Israel-Iran conflict, a humanitarian crisis that hits close to home for the Philippines, given our large overseas worker community in the region. The Overseas Workers Welfare Administration reports 7 OFWs were hospitalized. 5 have been discharged, with 2 still in stable condition. Out of 150 OFWs seeking repatriation from Israel, 10 have returned to the Philippines and 26 more are expected to arrive this weekend. The Department of Foreign Affairs is working to secure transport through Jordan to bring home more OFWs, promising that no worker will be left behind amid this crisis. DFA Undersecretary Eduardo de Vega gives this assurance. The government is fully committed to the safe return of Filipino workers caught in the conflict.
Merong tayong palaging contingency plan na pwede through sea, pwedeng dalhin sa Cyprus o sa Greece. Isa pang contingency plan, tulungan ng mga bawat embassy. Kung talagang mass repatriation, mga iba-ibang citizen na yan nagcha-charter tayo ng buong barko or buong eroplano. So isa yan. And we're waiting for the advice of our presidents. No? In other words, of our president and our ambassadors, kasi depende yan kung lumala ang gera. Hindi natin inaasahan lumala ang gera. One thing I must say, no, sa Israel, so lagpas 30,000 doon. Sa experience natin yan, they are veterans, alam na nila yung situation. Mm-hmm. Pangalawa, kahit na ba may bomba na tumatama nun, very few ang nagsasabing uwi. Remember, umuwi na tayo nagre-repatriate na tayo ng Filipinos, not since recently, since October 2023, noong nag-umpisa yung alitan sa Gaza, between Gaza and Israel. And so marami tayong, in a way, we could have brought home unti-unti ilang libo, pero wala pa yata 2,000 nakauwi since October 2023. So they want to stay there.
Meanwhile, in Iran, fewer OFWs have requested repatriation. Only 14 so far, as De Vega notes that many still choose to stay despite the uncertainty. This situation puts a spotlight on the vulnerability of Filipino workers in conflict zones, a key concern for business leaders who depend on remittances and for policymakers focusing on overseas worker welfare. 7 Filipinos are injured, 1 critically after Iranian air raids. But Israel's ambassador to the Philippines, Elon Plus, assures that all hospitalization costs will be fully covered. The most severely injured victim is in the ICU at one of Israel's top hospitals, while 5 have been discharged and 1 remains under treatment. Nearly 50 Filipinos have lost their homes in the attacks, including a newborn baby. Many are now in temporary shelters with support from the Philippine Embassy. So far, 26 Filipinos have requested repatriation as embassy staff provide round-the-clock assistance on the ground. On another front, the Philippines is taking a strong stand against crypto tax evasion, set to launch a reporting framework by 2028 to track digital assets across borders. The Department of Finance announced this at the 8th Asia Initiative meeting in the Maldives. The crypto asset reporting framework will automatically share data between tax authorities, sharpening the fight against illicit flows. The Philippines now joins 67 countries, including 10 Asian nations, committed to implementing this by 2027 or 2028. Finance Secretary Ralph Recto says this global push is crucial to stop tax cheats and protect the integrity of the financial system. Now, the Philippines is losing ground in Southeast Asia, and infrastructure delays are to blame. Jamil Paulo Francisco, Executive Director of the AIM Rizalino S. Navarro Policy Center for Competitiveness, says the country continues to fall behind regional peers due to inefficient infrastructure. He points out that while new developments are being launched, many face significant delays in implementation and completion, hurting overall growth and productivity. The Philippines recently climbed 1 spot to 51st in the 2025 World Competitiveness Yearbook by the International Institute for Management Development. Despite the slight improvement, the country remains one of the region's laggards, ranking 13th out of 14 Asia-Pacific economies and last among the 5 ASEAN countries included in the report. In corporate news, San Miguel Corporation once again breaks into the top 10 of Fortune Southeast Asia's 500 list, showcasing the strength and resilience of Philippine business on the regional stage. With $27.5 billion in sales, San Miguel's diversified footprint in infrastructure, energy, and more signals growing opportunities for investment and economic growth here at home. Other Filipino companies also made strong showings. SMC Investments, Meralco, and Ayala Corporation, proving that the Philippines can compete among Southeast Asia's top players. SMC Chairman and CEO Ramon Ang says this recognition is a testament to Filipino talent and hard work and a call to business leaders to drive the country's development forward. Leanto Consolidated mining shares skyrocket nearly 49%, powered by a massive net income of over 600 million pesos as of end May. Felipe Yap's company dominates trading. Both A and B shares climbed to 13 centavos on a stronger turnover of 23 million pesos, securing the top 2 spots on today's hottest stocks list. Lepanto's net income soars to 659 million pesos in the first 5 months of 2025, up from just 16 million pesos in the same period last year. The surge comes as gold production jumps 23%, coupled with stronger gold prices, driving the company's impressive profits. We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most. Your bottom line. Let's check on Asian markets this morning. Right now, the Nikkei 225 is in the green, higher by 0.5%. That's the only one in the green so far. Hong Kong Hang Seng Index is lower by 1.1%. The Shanghai Composite is lower by 0.3%. And Singapore Straits Times Index is lower by 0.4%. Here at home, Philippine shares extended losses Tuesday as geopolitical tensions and global uncertainty continue to weigh on investor sentiment. PSE index fell 0.6% to 63.58, driven by fears over inflation as oil prices climb and the peso struggles to hold ground. Foreign funds pulled out 2.7 billion pesos, a clear sign that global risk appetite is shrinking fast. Value turnover stood at 8.8 billion pesos. Now, over the immediate short term, all eyes are now on the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas as the Monetary Board meets tomorrow with a 25 basis point cut widely expected. But the big question is, will it be enough to spark a rebound? Now, taking a look at our market as of 10:21 this morning, the main gauge is trading flat with a downward bias at 63.65. All shares index flat with a downward bias as well. Out of the sub-indices, we're looking at a mixed picture. The financials, industrial, services, and mining and oil counters are weighing the market down, whereas the holding firms and property counters are trying to bust out those gains. Now, as for the market's value turnover, we're at 1.2 billion, with total trades valued at about 600 million pesos. Now, advancers are, we've got 73, decliners 48, and stocks 51 unchanged. So market breadth is positive despite the downward pressure on the PSE index. Now, at the currency market, the peso opens weaker at 56.75 against the dollar, flipping from Friday's close of 56.70. In other news, farmers are feeling the squeeze as the farm gate price of paddy rice drops to nearly 20 pesos per kilo in May, a signal that rural livelihoods and food security could be at risk. Data from the Philippine Statistics Authority shows a 29% decline from the same period last year when prices were at 24 pesos and 95 centavos per kilo. Industry experts warn that some traders are purchasing palay for as low as 10 to 13 pesos, well below farmers' production costs of 17 to 18 pesos per kilo, putting livelihoods and the agricultural supply chain under pressure. Philippine Airlines is reinventing its cargo business, targeting a big revenue jump through sharper branding and expanded services. G. Baroga breaks down what this means for the flag carrier's future.
Philippine Airlines Cargo. Care that delivers.
Philippine Airlines, or PAL of ultra-Bilyonaryo Lucio Tan, is turning its attention to cargo, giving the business a fresh new look and admitting it's been a bit of a sleeping giant. Right now, cargo only makes up around 5 to 6% of PAL's revenue, but airline officials think there's a lot more room to grow. One hurdle is that a lot of people don't even know PAL handles cargo.
Just by awareness alone, just by making sure that it's recognized as part of the PAL family, it could easily give us another 2 to 3% percentage points as part of our total revenue.
And there's momentum behind it. The e-commerce boom, which really took off during the pandemic, brought cargo into the spotlight, especially with the delivery of vaccines, medical supplies, and other must-haves.
We see a big demand for e-commerce, mostly from Asia to North America. And we're also starting to partner, because of this, we're starting to partner with other airlines to do interline. For example, we don't have this route, we can connect to them, and both ways they can also connect to us.
But of course, it's not all smooth flying. Global disruptions may impact both PAL's cargo and passenger services, particularly through rising oil prices and shifting demand.
We're trying to figure out how do we do with the tariffs. Then the Middle East incident now, it will definitely move because cargo will never stop, to be honest. It's very volatile, but it's resilient. It's just a matter of how do you go from this strategy to the next.
With the rebrand, PAL Cargo now offers a wide range of services. Easy and Prime for standard and special packages, Life Cargo for pets and livestock, and Rush Cargo. The newest addition is port-to-door delivery, thanks to courier partnerships that get items from PAL's warehouse straight to customers' homes. Overseeing it all is newly appointed PAL President Richard Nuttall, barely 3 weeks into the role but already diving into the action. With 5 years of experience in the U.S. cargo scene, he's developed a real interest in this area of aviation. He believes that this is a very interesting part of the business, much more than that of passengers, because of changes that happen regularly. As he leads PAL, Nuttall is committed to meeting customers' demands through strategic partnerships and digitalization.
We connect the Philippines to major markets, the US, North Asia, Korea, Japan, Australia. We connect the major hubs in the country, Manila, Clark, Davao, Cebu. We're adding new destinations. We've just added Ho Chi Minh. We're about to add Da Nang.
Even with the challenges in the industry, Philippine Airlines remains optimistic this year, not just for PAL Cargo but for its entire operations. For BNC Mobility, G. Baroga.
The future of news is powered by AI, and Filipinos are among the early adopters, according to the new Reuters Digital News Report. This year's report highlights two big shifts: the rise of AI chatbots and the explosion of podcasts, YouTube, and TikTok as news sources. This is the first time AI chatbots have been classified as a distinct news source since the report began in 2012. In the Philippines, 9% of Filipinos surveyed say they use AI chatbots for news, while 12% say they now turn to podcasts for updates. This signals a major shift in how Filipinos consume information and challenges traditional media to innovate fast or risk falling behind. We're taking a short break. Business 360 will be right back. Constitutional overreach. That's how former Supreme Court Chief Justice Philcon SA Chairman Renato Puno Jr. describes the Senate's decision to remand the impeachment articles against Vice President Sara Duterte. Puno believes the move is a tactic to stall the process, keeping the impeachment trial in limbo.
It's to me, and this is the view of other experts also. It's a procedural overreach. Cannot be justified under the Constitution, cannot be justified under their own rules. Since February, I think the articles have been forwarded to the Senate. And so February, and now it's already June, and the trial, the hearing of the case has not been started. The defendant has not been summoned. She has not filed her answer yet. And the effect of this remand order is to put the jurisdiction of the impeachment court in suspension, in limbo.
When asked if pro-Duterte senator judges should inhibit from the trial, Puno says that decision is up to the senators themselves to uphold their duty of impartiality.
What would be terrible that could happen here is, let us hypothetically say that the impeachment court proceeds to its decision. It's a correct decision, but because of the lack of inhibition by the senators, judges themselves, their credibility is eroded. It's a correct decision, but would not be believed by the public. That would be a terrible consequence.
Outcome, yes.
The worst scenario may be, the people may resolve this case using their own power. In other words, justice here may be fought out in our streets, and that would be a scenario that we should by all means avoid.
5 days after her appointment as head of strategic and interagency communications, Senior Undersecretary Annalisa Puod resigns from the Presidential Communications Office, a move that shines a light on ongoing leadership turmoil within the administration's key communications arm. Puod cited untenable conditions under the current PCO leadership in her resignation letter, though it remains unclear if President Marcos has accepted it. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro confirmed her exit, while Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin said Ruiz remains acting PCO secretary, leaving the position officially vacant. The palace also accepted courtesy resignations from 17 other PCO officials, deepening concerns over stability and coordination in the government's messaging, a critical issue as the administration faces pressure to deliver clear communications to the public and business community. On another front, Arie Teves, the expelled congressman from Negros Oriental, is at the center of a high-profile criminal case, facing charges including murder and terrorism. His legal troubles have shaken political stability, raising questions about the rule of law and governance, issues that matter deeply to investor confidence and the Philippine climate of business. Now, Teves underwent a successful appendectomy at the Philippine General Hospital and is recuperating. That's according to his lawyer, Ferdinand Topacio. Appendectomy is a surgical process to remove an infected appendix before it ruptures. Teves was hospitalized on Tuesday after severe stomach pain, sparking speculation about his health amid ongoing legal drama. Meanwhile, Congresswoman-elect Janice Degamo, whose husband was a victim in a related case, accuses Teves of faking illness to delay justice, stoking political friction. The Bureau of Immigration denies the bail request of controversial Russian blogger Vitaly Zdorovetsky, a case that shines a light on regulatory and public safety challenges in the digital age. The agency also confirms that Zdorovetsky was transferred to the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology on June 11th. In his plea, the Russian vlogger promises he has no intention to flee amid his ongoing deportation case and says he will stay in Metro Manila. Zdorovetsky was arrested last April for multiple charges, including unjust vexation and attempted theft, stemming from his infamous prank videos, a case that highlights the growing challenges digital content creators pose to public order and the need for clearer regulations with implications for digital platforms, advertisers, and the economy. We're taking a quick breather. Business 360 will be right back. Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump extends the deadline for China-based ByteDance to divest U.S. assets of TikTok by 90 days, pushing back a congressionally mandated ban that was set to take effect on June 19th. This buys more time for ongoing talks amid rising concerns over data privacy and national security, as the U.S. pushes to limit Chinese tech influence on American soil. The extension also reflects the complexity of regulating global digital platforms, a challenge that resonates worldwide, including here in the Philippines, where social media and short-form video apps have become powerful tools for communication, business, and politics. Trump had already granted 2 prior reprieves to delay the enforcement, which was originally scheduled for January. Elsewhere, the death toll in the Gaza Strip rises to over 55,000, a humanitarian crisis with global ramifications for business and energy markets. Gaza health authorities report 61 Palestinians killed in the last 24 hours, including dozens waiting for aid in the Khan Yunis in the southern enclave. The Israeli Defense Forces say the incident is under review. Meanwhile, hospitals struggle to handle the overwhelming casualties, facing critical shortages of medicines and supply. Back in the U.S., New York City Comptroller and mayoral candidate Brad Lander is detained for several hours after being arrested at an immigration court. A stark reminder that immigration remains a divisive and economically crucial issue in the United States. Lander says he was escorting a defendant out of court when he was detained. He is the latest politician opposing President Trump's immigration raids to be arrested. The Department of Homeland Security claims Lander was arrested for assaulting law enforcement and impeding a federal officer, charges Lander denies. Lander, one of 11 Democratic candidates running to replace current Mayor Eric Adams, was released after New York's Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul visited the courthouse. She left with Lander and announced that the charges had been dropped.
We are normalizing family separation. We are normalizing due process rights violations. We are normalizing the destruction of constitutional democracy, and we're not going to stand by and let it happen. This city, 8 million New Yorkers, 40% of them, themselves immigrants, themselves foreign-born, like those two officers. 50% of New Yorkers live in mixed status households, including 1 million children. That is the future of our city that we are fighting for, and I was proud to be out here with Immigrant ARC. I will keep coming back. I do want to say, I am grateful to the governor for coming. I'm grateful to all of you for being here.
And before we go, Filipino Broadway icon and Tony Award winner Leia Salonga takes center stage, singing the Star-Spangled Banner at the New York Yankees game. Her powerful performance, shared by the Yankees on social media, highlights the global impact of Filipino talent in the international arts scene, a source of pride and inspiration for the Philippines. In the caption, the Yankees mentioned Salonga's current Broadway show, Quantum's Old Friends, just days before she walked the red carpet at the Tony Awards and served as one of the presenters. And that's it for Business 360. I'm Maiki Oreta. Thank you for joining us, and keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.